Okay, so purchase orders for Sage. The traditional use of purchase orders, of course, is for people who have inventory and are selling goods. But you can also set up purchase orders to be used for people who don't have inventory so that you can track purchases of other things such as IT items or, furniture and fixtures or anything that you want to have go through the purchase order and approval process. So the first thing we would do, and this is more for the accounting department, but in our options, we would set up and processing the allow non-inventory items because that's all you have. You don't have inventory, so everything for you is going to be non-inventory items. And that's really all you guys need to worry about as far as this screen. And once again, Jason, once you set this up, it's set up, set it and forget it, basically.
You're saying like servers aren't inventory and
yes, they are. Well, okay. Inventory in the classic sense is inventory that you purchase for resale, okay? Like if your Lands End, you're going to purchase a whole bunch of pants, you're going to use this order to record that, and then your customers are going to place orders, and, that's that whole inventory.
Okay,
inventory in the accounting sense is like for resale, distribution. So, I mean, you might have inventory for your publications, but it's tracked in another piece of software. So everything Agora is non-inventory. It's actually furniture and fixtures. You're purchasing assets, okay? So that's what that's all about. So the next thing you need to do is set up account sets. And again, this is more accounting related. You can set up different account sets for different kinds of assets. I set up a couple here, such as furniture and fixtures would be your servers, your workstations, your desks, your shelving, any of those big items that you capitalize. You can also set up an account set for things like office supplies, which I don't think you're worrying about right now, but just for down the road, if you're making a big purchase and you want to that through purchase orders, you can do that. And then instead of capitalizing it, you're just writing it off to expense, okay? So that, again, is a setup thing. On the next thing, and this I don't know that you would really do, but you could set up purchase order items. So I set up, a sample item up. If you have frequent things that you use, you may certainly set these up. But if everything is going to be different, you actually have to do that, okay? And then once again, vendor details. So, let's go back. So if you have vendors that you purchase items from, so for instance, this laptop I set up, you can set up different vendors and, if you've got costs or if you have contract costs for them, you can also set that up. Again, I don't know if this is appropriate or, something you guys need to do, but, I thought I'd show it to you anyway. So here's contract costs. So say this laptop is on special between these dates, or say you have discounts. If you buy, 1 to 10, you don't get a discount, but if you buy 11 to 20, you get 30%, that kind of thing. So you can actually set that up. Again, this is optional and not required, okay?
Okay.
So to do a purchase order, what you would do is you would go into purchase order transactions, and anybody who wants to interrupt me, please do, okay, if you have questions. So the first thing you would do possibly is go in and do a requisition. So a requisition would be where you, it's sort of a pre-purchase order thing. So a requisition would be, you set up a requisition, you want to buy this server, it needs to be approved before it can become a purchase order. Now, do you think you would do that, or do you think you would just go right to purchase orders?
Yeah, we don't know yet. We haven't figured that out. Yeah, maybe.
Okay. I'll show you a requisition, and I'll show you one without. So we're going to use vendor number 1200. Okay, so you would need to, know who you're ordering it from, and requisition date. would be, today's date, and you can optionally put an expiration date and a date required date as well if you want. And then you can just say order of new server, just whatever. This is optional. And then line number 1. I'm going to press F9 so you can see everything on this screen rather than having to scroll across. So I can either use an item number that I've set up, and I'm going to show you both ways. So here's an item number that I've set up, and this is a laptop. I'm going to order 2 of them, and the price extends. The unit cost I've set up, but if it's different, I can change that at this point, and then simply add the line. Okay. And then if I don't have an item number set up, I can just type not applicable, and then I can type new server for NetSuite. And then I could order, put the quantity in. Unit of measure is going to be each, and then, I don't know how much, let's just say 5,000. I don't know how much a server is, but I know it's probably more than that. If you've got an item number from the vendor, you may enter that here if you know it. Let's just say we do, and we're going to add that. So now I've added 2 lines to this requisition, and one is an item that we created as a regular item, and then one is not. So I'm going to go ahead and post this order. And if I wanted to print the requisition, and I don't know how, Karen, I don't know if DocLink, if there's some sort of routing that you could do, with this. You could talk to them about that. Mm-hmm. But, for approvals and stuff like that. So here's the requisition. It's pretty simple. Okay, so now say the requisition has been approved. Now we're going to go in and we're going to create a purchase order from that requisition. So we are going to go to vendor number 1200, and I'm going to choose this from requisition, and choose a requisition. Why don't I see a requisition? Hang on a minute. Yep, that's vendor number 1200. See how often I do, not very. Here we go. Here we are. Always fun when the demo goes south. Okay, so we're going to use vendor. You know what? Maybe I need to approve it. Let's see. Okay, so that's I'm not sure why that's not coming up, so I'll have to get back to you on that if you want to use requisitions, but I'm not going to, fool around with that right now. So, wait a minute. Okay, I just had to click order. Okay, so I just had to click order, so we're good here. Okay, so my requisition has come up with my 2 line items, and so now it's become a purchase order. So I'm going to put my cost back in here, and I can post that. If there's anything additional I need to add on this, like maybe you need to put operating system or anything else you want to add to it, you can add to the purchase order at this point. So once that's done, I can click on Post, and I'm going to put it so you can see what it looks like. And this is just a generic purchase order. Okay, so now it has quantity, vendor item number, if you have it, and so forth. You have a purchase order number that you can send to your vendor, or a reference that you could give to your vendor when you place the order.
Carol, Just now when you said that once you get to the purchase order option, you can add, like if you need to add an extra description where you had the non-applicable. Can you add extra lines to the actual PO once you get to that point, or can you only do it on the requisition side?
No, you can actually add extra lines. So here I am with the purchase order. I can press insert, and I can, I'm going to press F9 just to open this up. I can say not applicable, and I can say Windows 12 Server OS or whatever. I'm going to order one. Once again, I have no clue how much it costs, so I'm going to say $500. And then I'm going to click Add.
Can you code it here as well, or can you make a
what was that?
The general ledger. Oh, the general ledger code. Will that drop down? Can that be coded?
Yeah. Okay. Well? So there's two ways to do this. So this is more for the accounting folks. You can set it up. I should have shown you that, but I forgot. So let's go back to GL integration for purchase orders. So so you've got an option here. Right now, okay, so a purchase order creates no GL entry because it's just a purchase order. There's nothing happening. There's no receipt of goods. There's none of that. So a purchase order, there is no GL, okay? However, when you receive the items, you've got a choice of whether you want to create general ledger entries for receipts or whether you want to just wait until you invoice to create the GL transaction. So right now I have this deselected because, if you create inventory, so if you create the entries from the receipt, what it does is it debits the item, the GL code, whether it's fixed assets or whatever, and then it credits an inventory receipt clearing account. So the amount sits in there, it's a credit, until such time as you record the AP invoice, and then it clears that out. It debits the inventory receipts clearing and credits accounts payable. So you can decide whether you want to recognize the GL piece at that point or whether you want to wait until you invoice an AP. So if you do it this way, creating GL entries for receipts, then you've got a clearing account you've got to deal with. And if not, then it's just debit to your asset, fixed asset, and a credit to AP. So that's a decision you guys would have to make. Okay. So at this point, it's a purchase order. No goods have changed hands. You haven't received anything. You've just told a vendor you want something. So there is no GL effect at this point. Okay, so I'm going to print the purchase order again so you can see the additional line. Okay, there it is. Okay. Let's see, is there anything else I'm going to show you on that? I don't think so. Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right, so now we have a purchase order, and at some point you are going to receive the goods. So we're back in purchase order transactions, and now we're going to enter a receipt. A receipt is, pretty simple. You're receiving the goods, and so I'm going to create a new receipt. It's going to be vendor 1200 again. It gives me the option to choose the purchase order, of course. I'm going to do this one that we just created. And you can elect to receive everything by clicking Receive All, or maybe you've got the laptops but you don't have the server or something like that. So you can receive them in bits and pieces if needed. Now, if you had the Create GL return entries for receipts, then this would debit your fixed assets, and then it would credit your AP receipt clearing. So we didn't turn that on, so I'm going to click Receive All. Now, if you know the invoice number, if you've got the invoice at the same time, then you can actually enter that now. So I'm going to click Invoice, and then we're going to put the vendor number invoice, so whatever that is. And then I'm going to post. What this is doing is it's doing two things. It's creating a receipt. I'm going to just print this just so you can see. You might not need to print these slips, but you might want to. Okay, so it's showing that these items have been received, and it also created an invoice for accounts payable. Now, if you didn't create the invoice at this point, then you would go in here and create the invoice. So once again, we would create the invoice. Work.
You mean create the invoice?
Create the invoice for accounts payable. So so in purchase orders, there's 3 phases of a purchase order. The first phase, and I'm not counting requisitions, so there would be 4 if you had requisitions. The first thing you do is you create the purchase order. The second thing you do is you receive the goods. The third thing you do, which might be at the same time as receipt, is you enter an invoice for accounts payable. So the IT guys aren't going to be doing this part. This is more for the accounting, where they're going to look up a purchase order and create, record. Probably they're going to record the receipts as well as the invoice for accounts payable. So yeah, shows you the invoice. So then at the end of the day, this is again an accounting thing. IT will not be doing this, but you're going to go into periodic processing and you're going to do something called day end. What day end processing does is it records everything to accounts payable and creates journal entries in the GL as well. So I'm going to hit process, do its thing. And it's complete. So this would be an extra step for accounting. And then if I go into accounts payable invoices, you can see PO generated batch right here. So this is from our purchase order. So, alrighty, so I got to turn that off. Hold on a second. I'm going to open this up. And here is my, here is the accounts payable and the, well, this just use suspense account, but what we would do is you would use the fixed assets account most likely. So if I wanted to drill down here, I'm going to show you that. This takes you to the PO invoice, okay? So that actually, you can see kind of the history. Oh, this is for the laptop, the server, and the operating system. So you can drill down and see that. Now, once again, accounting people, you're going to need to talk to our friends at DocLink to see how all this integrates with their software. So, that's something we need to factor in. So that's a question mark we need to get answered. So, all right, so that's basically the process. It's pretty simple. Reports that you could look at, analytical reports, you could look at transactions, you could look at your order action. That's probably one you'd want to look at. And let's take a look at, go. Like so what this does is it shows us our outstanding purchase orders. This is the one I created last night, and it shows you that vendor chloride systems, there's a PC workstation on order, or 2 actually, for a total of $11.70. So that's how you can look and track open purchase orders, with this report. Purchase history, of course, there's a purchase history. You can look at aged purchase orders. That might be interesting. And I'm going to one. That. So once again, it shows you, purchase orders that are outstanding, okay? Purchase statistics, those are probably the two that you're going to want to look at, possibly purchase history. So that's pretty much it. Questions? I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just a matter of, do you think this is going to be a good fit for your organization?
I feel like it's something we're going to have to kind of vet out and maybe play around with a little bit. I think it'd be kind of useful to have like an interactive kind of demo where we can go on ourselves and put things in and see how we can get things organized and get things entered and see if it can kind of integrate with the system that we already have going.
Right. What we could do, let's see how that would best be accomplished. I mean, I could install purchase orders. I could give you a 30-day. I think if you install it without having an activation code, you've got 30 days, before it expires, and then, we just uninstall it. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to do that for you guys. Actually,
that would be extremely helpful.
Okay. And then what we would need to do is we'd need to create, I mean, Karen, you've got tons of sample data. We'd need to pick an organization, create a sample data, activate purchase orders, and, that's not a big deal. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want to activate it in your live data, but we could certainly activate it in a demo setting. And,
well, I do have a demo, an environment right now. It's called Karen 2, and that's what our doc link is pointing to, and we're using that as our test environment to make, pull things in there, because it's a mirror copy of Agora's database as it was probably about a month ago. So all the vendors, everything is intact, but it is a copy. So would we be able
because you're going to need to figure out the whole doc link side of things, with alt text. So, I'd be happy to, when we get done, I could show you, I mean, you could do it, Karen. I mean, basically, what you do is you go back and you do a modify installation of Sage, and you check the purchase order option off, and then I could help you activate it and, kind of get you going. I'll just tell you that once we do that, everybody who logs into Sage is going to get that license Nag Screens going to pop up, so you're going to want to let your folks know that. So if you've got a product that doesn't have an activation code, every time you log into Sage, it's going to say application is not registered, and this little screen is going to pop up. So right here, it's going to show up. So it's going to give you that message, and you just click OK. But you'll want to let everyone know, because they'll be like, something's wrong, So, but yeah, we could absolutely do that. And then, if you decide you want it, then we just have to enter an activation code. If you decide it's not going to be a good fit, then all we have to do is remove the license file from the Neptune 3, and then you won't see that pop up anymore. So, yeah, we could do that anytime.
So let me ask, from an accounting perspective, how much time is this going to save you guys? Or is it going to add time?
Well, I've used purchase order systems in my previous companies. What I'm used to is the three-way. It's like a three-way match. Once the purchase order is done, the receipts are loaded, the invoice is put in. As long as the receipts are there, the invoice automatically goes through the process of being entered and paid. We don't even really need to send it, like right now when we send invoices to you guys to be approved, as long as the receipts for your items are there, it kind of cuts back on the approval process. But someone would need to be responsible, and in theory, to me, it wouldn't be us, but that's definitely something we can discuss. Somebody would have to be responsible for making sure they go in there every time an order comes in and load the receipts.
Right.
Because if the receipts are not there, it will snag up the invoicing process.
The other piece to that is if you enter a receipt and purchase orders, you want to make sure you enter the AP invoice and purchase orders. You don't want to enter it directly into AP because otherwise you've got a lot of receipts building up that have never been invoiced, and that can create, some havoc. So that is the other little piece, that I've seen people do, and it's more of a mess if you're actually a distribution company and, selling inventory. I mean, you end up with this big balance in the receipt credit account, and it's almost impossible to reconcile. But, since you're not a distribution company, it's not going to be as critical, but it's still going to be important. You want to if you're going to get the software, you want to complete the process. Like, I think that was Dana that was just speaking.
Yeah, because if the receipts aren't there, Jason, then we still have to go through the trouble of, sending you the invoice to be approved, or calling you and saying, hey, guys, did you receive this order? If you did, we need the receipts loaded so we can put the invoice in. So it's really something that somebody needs to stay on top of, because if the receipts are not loaded, the invoice can't be paid.
Right. So I would guess probably IT would be in charge of creating the purchase order and entering the receipt, and then accounting would be the invoicing piece. That sound right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would think, but like I said, it's definitely something we can all discuss and come up with a mutual decision. But because the orders are coming directly to you guys, you're the ones that are going to know whether or not the orders are in.
Yep.
So.
Right. Okay.
But it does, I mean, it will cut down the process of us needing to get the invoices approved and all that stuff, because the PO, the fact that you have a PO, the fact that you loaded the receipts and said that you received the merchandise, you're basically saying, okay, we received this, it's okay to pay.
Right.
Right.
It does cut down on the whole, waiting for approval and all that stuff.
And we can do this for just large purchases, and other purchases will just go through the normal process. We can do a hybrid.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you use it in a way that makes the most sense. I mean, just because you have purchase orders doesn't mean every single nickel and dime has to be run through purchase orders. So, you want to do it in the way, that makes most sense to you.
Right. Yeah, we want to do this for like the large items and.
Yeah, like the servers, and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're IT. We want to use the technology. If there's something that we can help, save time and money with, we want to use it. So.
Absolutely. Yep. So, yeah, if that sounds good to you, Karen, if you want, when we get off, I don't know what your time looks like. I can get you. I can help you get that set up, or if you want to set a time next week, that would be okay too.
Yeah,
Jason,
no, I'm fine. I can. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Jason, if I can just make a suggestion when your team is meeting with one another to discuss whether or not this is something that you really want to go ahead with, because you're saying like there's 30 people in the IT department and they all order stuff. If they're not all able to approve orders or invoices, like let's say Kirsten puts in an order, but you have to approve her order.
Right.
I would suggest going with the requisition part of it.
Right.
But so if you guys can just kind of keep that in your head, and when you're discussing, because if someone goes in and puts an order, and typically it's not something they can approve, a $10,000 order, and they need your approval, then I would definitely consider going with the requisition part of it, so that all the approvals are done and everything's flowing through.
Yeah, that sounds good. Cool.
Okay.
Sounds like we're ready to test it.
Okay, sounds good. Karen, you want to give me a holler? I'm going to